Right now, HDR in Destiny 2 is broken on the Xbox Series X because specular highlights like this are way too bright, even with the right setting in the HDR menu. On the PlayStation 5, on the other hand, I couldn't find the same problem, but unfortunately, we have a different one. Okay, so let's talk about the Xbox Series X version and the maximum peak luminance. And I changed my camera settings a little bit. The picture maybe appears a little bit dark, but in this case I can actually show you hopefully what I'm talking about. So this right now, when we just jumping quickly into the settings menu, is exactly the same values what I recommended back then in February in terms of midpoint and peak brightness. 50 for midpoint on the Xbox Series X and peak brightness 750. So this is exactly the same, but what has changed, and this is a perfect example right now, can you hopefully see the difference? So with those settings, usually it shouldn't clip like this in HGig, not at all, but HGig makes it very, very hard to see actually specular highlights. It's just really absolutely too bright. Okay, so back then in my video I already mentioned that there is something off with HDR, and I had clipping already in the clouds and on very bright objects, on some objects, not all of them, but not like this. This is just way too much what is happening here. And when we're now looking on some analysis screenshot, then you will understand what is going on here. And I'm very lucky that I haven't deleted my old footage, my old screenshots. And this screenshot here, what I have analyzed back then in February, is with the setting 750 for maximum peak brightness and midpoint 50. And this is the maximum output from the game, 683 candela, which is absolutely fine. And this is what I took today. 750 peak brightness and 50 midpoint, and now the game is asking to output 2400 candela, which of course is way too much. And you can clearly see this when you play the game now that something is way off. It is just not correct anymore. Okay, so the LG ZX is struggling with this maximum peak brightness a lot, especially when you use HDR. So what else do I have? I have this here from back then in February, also 750/50. And the output, what the game likes to output at this very moment, 760 candela, perfect for the LG ZX. So this was taken today. Same settings, 750/50, and right now 2650 candela. Also way too bright. So here, just to confirm back then in February, I set the maximum peak brightness to 2000, midpoint 50, and the game was asking to output 2000 nits, which is absolutely fine because we set it to 2000. Okay, today I measured this 2050 midpoint, and right now the game likes to output almost 7000 candela, so way too much. And I confirmed, or I tested actually the PlayStation 5 today as well, and this is what I came up with the PlayStation 5. Also 750 candela for the maximum peak brightness, midpoint is also set to 50, and this is the output, 650 candela. Little bit less compared to the Xbox Series X, but maybe I'm not in the same distance to this object or whatever. Okay, so this needs to be considered, but this is an absolutely perfect value. There's nothing wrong with the PlayStation 5, and here the same object what I have measured on the Xbox Series, and with the 750 candela, 683 candela output. This is a little bit less compared to the Xbox Series X version, but yeah, still correct, because, or still much better than actually what I measured today on the Xbox Series X, because 6800 candela, it's just way too bright. So we can actually see that all the new stuff on the Xbox Series X at some point, or let's say it like this, there was for sure an update which maybe fixed something in terms of HDR, because there was an issue, or there's still an issue of course, with on the PlayStation 5 in terms of black level setting. And there was also an issue that on the Xbox, I think some black level or very dark details can appear brighter than expected. So they fixed some sort of HDR bugs, but it looks to me they did something terrible wrong, because now it is not nice on the Xbox Series X at all anymore. So this, again, old screenshot, perfectly almost 700 candela as we like it. Right now, the new measurement 2400 candela. This is, yeah, just a very bad bug. My recommendation on the Xbox Series X at this very moment, set everything to default, which means 50 and 1000, and then use dynamic tone mapping on the LG CX, because HGIG, it's just clipping all the bright details. I personally don't like dynamic tone mapping off, but this is also something what you can try. I would go with dynamic tone mapping in this case. I mean, HGIG would be the much better choice, but again, it will just clip all the nice bright details, and you would have just, yeah, all the specular highlights, you will miss all the details, okay? That's what it is at the moment, because the setting here are not working as they should be. Not at all. All the specular highlights on the Xbox Series X are just way too bright, even with the right setting here. So again, use dynamic tone mapping on or off, whatever you like better. In my opinion, it is dynamic tone mapping on, but do not use HGHG right now on the Xbox Series X. Okay, so let's talk about the black level bug on the PlayStation 5, and to understand what is going on, let's have a quick look on the top right corner where you can see the VRR information, and right now RGB 12-bit is the signal what the PlayStation 5 is outputting, and this is normal and this is good. So because there's just one case actually when we don't have RGB 12-bit on the PlayStation 5, and that's when we have 120 Hz and HDR, okay? In all the other cases it's RGB 12-bit, and this is the best signal what you actually can have. So to understand now what I'm talking about in terms of black level bug, we need to have a look here on the RGB range. And the best setting, in my opinion, on the LG CX and on the PlayStation 5 is leave it on automatic, because in 99% of the time it is working as it should be. But unfortunately not in this game. But this is not the fault from the PlayStation 5 or the LG CX, it's the fault from the game. So again, we established the outputting in RGB 12-bit, because when I'm changing this here automatic to full, you can see there is no difference. It will not change the screen. But when I go to limited, you can see the screen goes dark, and now it's back. So that means we changed right now, or we have changed the RGB range, okay? So we like to leave this on automatic in terms of, because of Destiny 2, okay? So let me jump back into the game. So right now, this is with the wrong black level setting. Or let's say it like this. This is with the wrong settings from the game. It's not in terms of the LG CX or the PlayStation 5, because here also my TV is on auto, which is absolutely correct. Okay, so you can see here high, auto, no difference. But when I go to low, you can actually see a difference, because now the TV is actually changing from the extended or high black level from 0 to 255. It's changing now to 16 to 235. Okay, so we are now limiting actually the RGB range. And this is what we have to do in Destiny 2 on the PlayStation 5 to get a proper picture, because when you compare this, or when you're able to compare this with the Xbox Series version, you will immediately see that something is not right in terms of colors, because if you leave everything in terms of from the black level on auto, then you will have a completely washed out picture. And you can see it hopefully that there's something changing. It doesn't look quite right, okay? I can show you this a little bit better probably as soon we have here this gate open. And no voice at all. It appears to be it's getting darker, and this is correct because it is just over bright and everything, okay? So this is absolutely fantastic what I can see at the moment in terms of HDR, in terms of picture quality. This, with the right setting according to PlayStation 5 and my TV, that's not a nice picture. It is washed out, the colors are fading a little bit. There's a lot of color details suddenly missing, or it's just because it's very grayish, the picture, you can't actually see the nice color, the nice blue. So this is what the PlayStation 5 is having the problem right now, or in terms of the bug. That's a big problem, and this is since I actually tested the game back then in February, I think. Here the same. This is very, very washed out. I'm quite sure on the camera it doesn't appear like this, but here when I'm changing this to low, it is such a great picture in terms of contrast, in terms of the colors, exactly the same as on the Xbox Series X, okay? So again, do me the favor, leave it as it is on the PlayStation 5, go to your TV and change it to low, black level setting to low, but keep in mind, this is really just for the PlayStation 5. The Xbox Series X has no problem in terms of the black level. On the PlayStation 5 we have a complete different picture because the HDR peak brightness setting in this menu here are actually working. I would recommend right now 800 for peak brightness, and for midpoint you can actually try a value between 50 and 25, whatever fits you better. Not quite sure right now. I haven't had enough time actually to figure out which one is the best setting, but again, this is of course also a little bit of your own preference. If you like it a little bit brighter in the darker areas like here, then go for 50. If you like to have more contrast and you don't want to see all the details here because maybe you don't have to, then go for 25. I think everything below 25 is already a little bit too less, but again, I haven't tested much in terms of midpoint. Okay, so put in the comment section what you think about midpoint in terms of the peak brightness. I'm quite sure 800 right now will fit the LG CX very, very well. Okay, my friends, so that's it for this video. I say thank you very much for watching me, and if you like this video, please like it, share it and subscribe. If you're new to my channel, I would much appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.